The grand ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers, soft violin music, and the quiet hum of wealthy guests laughing over champagne. It was supposed to be the happiest day of the year for one of the city's most powerful families. Cameras flashed, elegant dresses shimmered, and the bride walked through the room like a princess from a fairy tale. Yet in the far corner of that magnificent hall, almost hidden behind a tall arrangement of white roses, sat a little girl in a wheelchair. She wore a beautiful silver dress, her hair carefully tied with a ribbon that matched the decorations. Her dark eyes sparkled with excitement at first, but as the evening went on, that sparkle slowly faded. People passed by her again and again, without even noticing. Some glanced for a second, then quickly looked away. Others pretended she simply wasn't there. She was the CEO's daughter. And she was completely paralyzed from the waist down. But the most painful thing that night was not the wheelchair. It was the silence around her. Before we continue this emotional story, take a quick moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to the channel if you believe the world still needs more compassion and second chances. Because tonight's story proves that sometimes, one voice can change everything. The wedding was one of the most luxurious events the city had ever seen. The groom was the son of a powerful business tycoon, and the bride was marrying into one of the richest families in the country. Guests included politicians, celebrities, and influential executives. Among them was Daniel Carter, the quiet but respected CEO of Carter Industries. Daniel was known as a brilliant businessman, a man who had built an empire from almost nothing. His presence alone commanded respect in boardrooms and international conferences. But tonight, Daniel wasn't thinking about business. His entire attention was on his daughter, Lily. 8-year-old Lily had once been a lively, energetic child who loved running through the garden and chasing butterflies. But 2 years earlier, a terrible car accident had changed everything. The accident had taken her mother's life. And it had taken Lily's ability to walk. Since that day, Daniel had carried 2 heavy burdens in his heart: grief for his wife, and guilt for his daughter. No matter how many doctors he consulted, no matter how many therapies he tried, Lily's condition remained the same. But Daniel had promised himself one thing. His daughter would never feel alone. That was why he brought her everywhere with him, even to a grand wedding where he knew people might stare. Or worse, pretend she didn't exist. At first, Lily had been excited. She loved the sparkling lights and the music. She watched the bride walk down the aisle with wide eyes and whispered that she looked like a princess. But as the reception began, something changed. Children ran across the dance floor laughing and spinning. Parents pulled their kids away gently when they passed the wheelchair. A few guests whispered behind their hands. Daniel noticed every single moment. And each one felt like a tiny knife in his chest. He stayed beside Lily most of the night, kneeling next to her chair, pointing out decorations, telling her little stories to keep her smiling. But business obligations eventually pulled him away. Just for a few minutes. Just long enough to greet an important client. When Daniel stepped away, Lily was left alone near the corner table. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. Guests filled the dance floor, laughter grew louder, and the orchestra played a cheerful song. But in the corner, Lily sat quietly watching. Her small hands rested on her lap. Her smile slowly disappeared. It wasn't that people were cruel. Most simply didn't know what to do. Some felt awkward. Some felt uncomfortable. Some avoided the situation entirely. So they chose the easiest path, ignoring her. And that quiet neglect hurt more than any insult ever could. Across the room, someone noticed. A man stood near the buffet table holding a small plate of food. His name was Marcus Reed, a single father who had been invited by a distant relative of the bride. Marcus wasn't rich. He worked long hours as a construction supervisor and had spent most of his life raising his 5-year-old son, Noah, alone after his wife passed away from illness. Marcus understood loneliness better than most. When his eyes landed on Lily sitting alone in the wheelchair, something inside him tightened. He watched for a few moments. Watched as people walked past her. Watched as she pretended to be fascinated by the napkin on the table. Watched the quiet sadness in her eyes. Then he looked down at his son standing beside him. Noah tugged gently on his father's sleeve and whispered something. Marcus nodded. Without hesitation, he took Noah's hand and walked across the ballroom. Guests barely noticed them, but Lily did. Her eyes widened slightly as the man and the small boy approached her table. Marcus didn't ask permission. He didn't hesitate. He simply pulled out the chair beside her wheelchair and sat down like it was the most natural thing in the world. His son climbed onto the chair next to him, swinging his small legs. For the first time that night, someone had chosen to sit with Lily. The little girl looked surprised. But something warm flickered in her expression. Marcus gently placed the small plate of cake in front of her. He had noticed earlier that she had never gotten dessert. Across the room, Daniel Carter returned from his conversation. He scanned the room automatically, looking for his daughter. When he spotted her in the corner, his heart skipped. A stranger was sitting next to her. Daniel's protective instincts instantly kicked in. He moved quickly across the ballroom. But as he approached, he slowed down. Because something unexpected was happening. Marcus's son Noah had climbed down from his chair and stood in front of Lily's wheelchair. The boy looked up at her with innocent curiosity. Then he did something that made several nearby guests turn their heads. He held out his small hand. He was inviting her to dance. For a moment, the music seemed to fade. Lily looked at her wheelchair. Then back at the boy. A shadow of embarrassment crossed her face. Marcus noticed immediately. Without making a big scene, he gently stood up. He walked behind Lily's wheelchair and unlocked the brakes. Then he carefully rolled her onto the edge of the dance floor. The orchestra continued playing. Guests slowly noticed what was happening. Marcus placed Lily's hands lightly on Noah's shoulders. Then he knelt beside her wheelchair. And began slowly moving the chair in rhythm with the music. The boy laughed happily as they turned in small circles. Lily's eyes widened with surprise. Then, she started laughing too. It wasn't a loud laugh. But it was real. The first real laugh she had had all night. Guests around the dance floor began to watch. Some smiled. Others looked ashamed. Because one simple act had revealed something they had all failed to do. See her. Daniel Carter stood frozen a few steps away. His throat tightened. For 2 years he had fought to protect his daughter from pain. But he had never realized how deeply she longed for something so simple. To be included. To be seen. To be treated like any other child. Marcus didn't care about the whispers around him. He didn't care about the luxury suits or the wealthy crowd. All he cared about was the joy on Lily's face as she spun slowly with the little boy. After a few minutes, something even more unexpected happened. Another child joined them. Then another. Soon, several kids gathered around Lily on the dance floor, dancing and laughing without fear or hesitation. Children didn't see wheelchairs the way adults did. They saw another friend. And suddenly, Lily was no longer invisible. The room felt different, warmer, lighter. Daniel finally stepped forward. When Marcus looked up and saw him approaching, he quickly stopped the wheelchair, assuming he might have overstepped. But Daniel didn't look angry. His eyes were wet. For a moment, the powerful CEO struggled to find words. Then he simply placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder. The gesture said everything. Gratitude, respect, relief. Because a stranger had given his daughter something priceless. Dignity. The rest of the night changed completely. Guests who had ignored Lily earlier now approached her with kindness. Children took turns dancing with her. Even the bride and groom came over to take pictures with her. But Lily's favorite moment remained the first dance with Noah. Because it came from pure kindness. Not obligation. As the wedding slowly came to an end, Marcus prepared to leave quietly with his son. He didn't expect attention. He didn't want praise. But before he reached the door, Daniel stopped him. In front of everyone, the CEO shook his hand firmly. And in a rare emotional moment, he thanked him publicly. Not as a businessman, but as a father. Because sometimes the most powerful people in the room are not the richest ones. They are the ones brave enough to show compassion. Before we reach the end of this story, take a moment to comment one word below: kindness. Let's see how many people still believe small acts of kindness can change someone's world. Months later, Daniel Carter started a foundation dedicated to helping children with disabilities feel included in everyday life. The first project, community dance programs where every child, wheelchair or not, could share the same floor. And every year, Lily attended the opening event, always saving the first dance for Noah. Because the night everyone ignored her. One single father had the courage to speak up without saying a single word. And sometimes, that is all it takes to remind the world how powerful kindness truly is. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes kindness still matters, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us of the good still left in the world. Because somewhere out there tonight, someone is waiting for just one person to notice them.